When it comes to aged care, have you ever felt that the government sounds like they've got it all under control, but in reality, it's just window dressing? And in this video, I want to share a story that highlights how broken the aged care system is in this country. It's about one of our Village Local subscribers, a person who watches our videos. He recently emailed me earlier this week to share his story. What he went on to say, and I'm going to call him John changed his name for privacy reasons. What he went on to say was quite shocking. You want to know about this to avoid finding yourself in a situation like John found himself. So John went on to say that he's 82 years old. He lives on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and he's currently approved and registered for what we call the Commonwealth Home Support Program. So this is the entry-level aged care system. So it's not a home care package, it's the entry-level Commonwealth Home Support Program. Now, the Commonwealth Home Support Program, shortened as CHSP, it's designed to provide people with very basic level, entry-level services to keep people independent in their local community. But after an unexpected medical event, John had to call an ambulance and he was taken to hospital, and he found himself with a hospital discharge planner breaking the news that he had 2 hours notice to pack his things and head home. Now, as I said, John went to hospital in an ambulance, so he didn't have time to prep things and make sure that he was packed and all his affairs were in order. So 2 hours notice isn't much time to get organised to get home. And remember, this is a regional part of the country. John lives 20 kilometres away from the nearest town. It's not like the sort of conveniences that somebody living in a capital city has come to expect. So with not much time to get organised things, John thought he might be able to leverage the $5 taxi vouchers that he's managed to get his hands on as being part of the Commonwealth Home Support Program. But a $5 taxi voucher doesn't even scratch the surface of what would otherwise be an $80 taxi ride to his home. When it does come to the CHSP community transport services that John does have access to, the reality is he needs to give them 3 days notice and pay in advance for to be able to utilise that community transport service. In the end, John had no choice but to call on the help of a friend who, John goes on to say in his email to me, his friend isn't doing that well either. So it wasn't that convenient for a friend to reach out and support him in this way, but also for the friend to actually do it as well. And John's situation isn't an exception. It's a harsh reality that there are many older Australians across the country that are experiencing this very thing. And call it coincidence or call it otherwise, it was only a week or two prior that a member of my team was telling me a situation where they had received a phone call from a taxi service in actually the same part of the country, who was saying that they were shuffling older people to and from hospital during their dialysis treatments without billing for it, just out of the kindness of the heart. So there is a significant challenge that is taking place in the community, specifically when it comes to the way that the Commonwealth Home Support Program is being administered, and it's leaving a blaring gap. We're seeing it with transport, but it's not immune to that service segment alone. Truth is, the system promises all these support services. I'm specifically again talking about the Commonwealth Home Support Program. It promises all these support services are in place and accessible, but when it comes to urgent, real-life services and the situations in which you need to access them, the gaps become glaringly obvious. Right now, there are about 1.1 million people, older people, across the country receiving some form of community home care services. Of that 1.1 million, about 800,000 of them are part of that entry-level Commonwealth Home Support Program. And about 270,000 are part of the other higher level support services known as the Home Care Packages Program. And the difference between these two types of government-funded home care services is significantly different. I said it earlier, CHSP services are designed for basic entry-level support, offering a limited menu of services like very entry-level domestic assistance, meal prep, and transport. But these services are typically constrained by available funding in the local area, meaning that people who have been approved for these entry-level Commonwealth Home Support Program services often face long wait lists when it comes to the way that the services are scheduled, which means a significant lacking in flexibility. It's certainly not an ideal program for somebody who requires support in managing a complex healthcare condition, has urgent needs, or their healthcare is unpredictable. In other words, sometimes it's going really well, but then they can have a turn quite quickly and quite unexpectedly. And this was likely the case with John. Now let's consider for a second if John actually had access to the Home Care Packages program. Well, unlike CHSP, the Home Care Packages program provides a lot more flexibility and personalised care. When John was given 2 hours notice at the hospital that he was going to be discharged, John could have simply called up his case manager. That's the organisation and the individual within that organisation that's looking after John and John's home care package. And that person would have been able to either arrange a driver, be it a private driver or a taxi service, or a support worker to go to John's bedside, assist him, pick him up, assist him into the car, drive him to his home, assist him into his home, and help him get settled. And when it comes to the cost of all of that, that could have been directly paid for out of John's home care package. So John wouldn't have had to be out of pocket. So as you can see in that little example there, besides the funding, there's a big distinction between CHSP services and the home care package system in that people who get access to a home care package, it comes with somebody who can be in your corner. Somebody who you can really exercise that old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. The case manager or the care coordinator. That person, John can call on to say, hey, I've got this tricky situation. Can you help me deal with it? That type of care coordination and case management is simply not available in the Commonwealth Home Support Program system. And this level of support offers peace of mind, which, as John saw, is something that is extremely lacking in the Commonwealth Home Support Program system. But here's the reality. Getting access to a home care package is not easy, which often results in people ending up on what is known as the National Priority List, which is essentially a waiting list for the funding to be assigned. All the more reason to start the process earlier if you're finding that you're somebody who's needing a little bit of help at home, a little bit more help than what you're currently getting, or some help if you're not getting any at all. So if you're somebody like John who needed immediate help, waiting for a home care package just isn't an option. And that's the major flaw that we're finding in the aged care system today. Further to this, it's clear that the CHSP system is broken and it also lacks transparency. I've spoken to many assessors, people who approve people to access the Commonwealth Home Support Program. And all of the people I've spoken to are fully aware of what's happening. They're approving people for services. They're handing out these codes, which essentially are codes to unlock and access these services when you go to redeem them at a home care provider, only to be told that the funding has run out. And what's worse, they're also told that there's no waiting list, there's no backup plan. The best you can do is keep calling us back in the hope that something opens up. Imagine for a second being 82 years old. Many of the viewers of this video are that age and even older. Being taken to hospital in an ambulance and then being told by an organisation who you know you need to access services, you need to keep calling back. We can't give you a timeline on things. Just keep checking in with us, hoping that maybe, just maybe, there'll be an opening available. That's not just frustrating, it's disheartening. It puts seniors and their family members in a position that feels almost cruel. I've seen this scenario play out over and over again. Families stretched thin, burnt out, trying to provide their loved ones with the support that they need to stay not only independent, but safe in their own homes, all while trying to navigate a system that I'm sorry, but doesn't feel anything more than an effort to wear you down. And to John's comments in the email that he sent me, yeah, mate, I agree with you. The government's support quite often does feel like a shiny promise rather than a safety net. And this is window dressing. Bureaucrats shuffling paper but not delivering real help when it's needed. This isn't just about policy failures. This is about real people's needs. People like John, who need reliable help, not a maze of CHSP approval codes that ultimately lead nowhere. The system needs to be more transparent, more accountable, and frankly, more humane. So, what can you do if you find yourself or a loved one in this situation? Well, here's what I suggest. Firstly, do your best to always have a backup plan. Now, I know that this is easier said than done, but if you've got the ability to put some mechanisms in place that can act as a backup plan, and what I mean by that is something like a list of friends, family members, or community contacts who can step in during emergencies. Second, now this is a big one. If you feel that the current services that you're getting under the Commonwealth Home Support Program, or if you feel that you could use some support services because you're not currently getting any, the moment that you feel this situation, use that as the catalyst to book yourself in for an ACAT assessment or an ACAS assessment if you're in Victoria. ACAT or ACAS, these are the assessment teams that assess people to access the Home Care Packages program. So there's the RAS assessor, which approves people for the CHSP, but then there's the ACAT or ACAS assessor that approves people for a home care package. While home care packages in themselves are not a perfect solution, they offer way more flexibility than the CHSP program. So if you're eligible for a home care package, make sure you advocate for yourself to access one, and do it sooner rather than later because of the wait list that you're going to inevitably find yourself on. And third, perhaps most importantly, be relentless. I know it's hard, but persistence is key. It's as the old saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And that could not be more true in the aged care system. Call the government department, My Aged Care. Stay in contact with service providers. Reach out to your local MP if required, but be relentless. The aged care system is not going to fix itself. It's going to take the collective efforts of people just like you speaking up and demanding better. And on that, I want to pause for a second and reflect. Have you or someone you might know experienced something similar to John's situation? If you have, I want to hear about it. Put it in the comments below. Share the story. Let others know that John's situation isn't isolated. These things are happening and we need to bring them to surface. If you found this video useful or know somebody who might benefit from watching it, please like, subscribe, and share this video. And also direct them to this video just here, because quite often it takes a lot of self-advocacy to access the support services that you need in this country. And in this video here, I step you through exactly how to exercise your consumer rights as an aged care participant. I'll catch you in that one.